Amazon here. And friend, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Fontaine. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for AWS ML Developer Education.
And what is ML?
Machine learning.
So you know, I mean, there's ML is machine learning, machine language. So now we defined it. Machine learning. What are you here to talk about besides machine learning?
Yeah, I'm here to talk about the Amazon CodeWhisperer Jupyter extension that was just announced at JupyterCon back on May 10th.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Do tell a little bit more about it, but let's kind of go back. Introduce what was you had just said it was part of what now?
Amazon CodeWhisperer.
That's right. What is this Amazon CodeWhisperer?
Yes. So Amazon CodeWhisperer is an AI coding companion that uses foundational models under the hood to improve developer productivity. So it works by generating code suggestions in real time based on developers' comments in natural language.
Nice.
So their prior code in their integrated development environment. So
Nice.
While auto-completion is foundational for developers, generative AI can significantly enhance the code suggestion experience.
Yes, I mean, that kind of takes coding to a whole new level, because then I don't have to go back like me. I don't know if you're a coder like me, and I'm still a baby coder. You know, I keep my little commands on a whole nother piece of paper that I copy, paste, and that way I don't have to keep going to them and typing them in. It sounds like this kind of copies and pastes for me.
Essentially, not only does it copy and paste, but it'll generate optimized code suggestions so that you can execute
So
more
I can't
quickly.
write crappy code.
Exactly.
Awesome! No crappy code.
And so what we did announce Amazon CodeWhisperer earlier in 2023.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was available for IDEs, integrated development environments such as VS Code, Visual Studio Code, various JetBrains IDEs like IntelliJ, PyCharm, CLion, Golang, WebStorm, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it was also built in AWS Cloud9 and AWS Lambda console. The most recent announcement is the availability of it for Jupyter Lab.
Nice, nice. Now, we all know that, you know, as coders, you pick where you want to do your coding. Everybody has their own little thing. Mine is Jupyter. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so Project Jupyter is a multi-stakeholder open source project that builds applications, open standards, and tools for data science, machine learning, and computational science. The Jupyter Notebook was first released way back in 2011 and is used by millions of people worldwide.
That's right.
It enables people to work with code and data interactively to build and share computational narratives that provide a full and reproducible record of their work. So now, with this new extension, Jupyter Lab users can install and use the CodeWhisperer extension for free and generate real-time, single-line, or full-function code extensions for Python notebooks in Jupyter Lab. Yes.
Who doesn't do that? Python. Gotta put a little snake tongue there.
Yeah, and so with CodeWhisperer support, you can write a comment in a natural language that outlines a specific task in English, and based on that information, CodeWhisperer will recommend one or more code snippets directly in the notebook to accomplish the task.
Nice.
Yep. So you can quickly and easily accept the top suggestion, view more suggestions, or continue writing your own code, but you have it there as a supportive resource. During preview, it proved how excellent it was at generating code and coding tasks. So on average, developers were completing tasks 57% faster, and developers who use CodeWhisperer were 27% more likely to complete the coding task successfully than those who were not.
Nice, nice. Because, you know, sometimes I myself get very frustrated with my code and throw my hands up and walk away because I'm done. I'm just done.
Absolutely. And so you might be wondering how that ties back to Amazon SageMaker. So Amazon SageMaker Studio is built upon Jupyter Lab. And so this new capability enables the power of Amazon CodeWhisperer in Amazon SageMaker Studio.
Nice.
That's crucial because Amazon SageMaker Studio is a fully integrated development environment for machine learning. So you can quickly launch notebooks in Studio, dial up or dial down the underlying compute resources without interrupting the work, and co-edit the same notebook in real time. So essentially, you've got the full suite of Amazon SageMaker services at your fingertips.
Nice. Now, we were kind of talking about that, you know, writing code in natural language that outlines a specific task. So, like, if I were to create a pandas data frame using a CSV file, because we all know in data, you're probably pulling in CSVs from multiple locations, and then you're having to say, you know, what you want to use or what kind of Python. How does it do that? What does it do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we'll get into that in the demo as we go through. We'll show you how you can add the extension to your SageMaker notebook, as well as how it would actually work.
So this is making things very, very easy for developers. So it's and I hate always saying this because I can never say it, but it's basically lifting the heavy load. It's basically taking that, going, let's make things easier for you so you could do what you need to do, which is code, and then leave the kind of like task checking to us.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so it's optimizing so you can focus more on the bigger tasks and move more quickly and more efficiently, where it's going to help you write optimized and efficient code.
I love it. I love it. So, do we have a demo?
We absolutely do. Demo! So excited to share. So in this demo, we'll follow the step-by-step guide in the blog post, which we will share in the chat. That pulls from the AWS or the Amazon CodeWhisperer documentation with the step-by-step guide to install the extension. So let's go ahead and jump into that.
I love that. And again, everyone, make sure you're following along. The demo is here. If you don't get to go one-on-one with the demo as we do this, you can come back and watch this later on YouTube, but take it away.
Excellent. So a couple notes there. Prior to jumping in, you will need to complete your prerequisites. So to use SageMaker, you'll need an AWS account and create an admin user. You'll need an Amazon SageMaker domain to use Amazon SageMaker Studio. And so you can learn more about that in all the documentation as well. And then as we get into CodeWhisperer, you'll create CodeWhisperer related permissions to your user profile execution role. So you need to create an IAM policy containing that statement, then attach that to your execution role to move forward. So now we're getting into enabling the CodeWhisperer extension in your SageMaker Studio domain. So in your system terminal, that's key, not in the image terminal inside SageMaker Studio, which we're now looking at. You run this command. You'll see that it will execute, and then we'll need to reload. So we'll reload the terminal, verify the installation of the extension was successful, and then we can open a new notebook. So we'll give it a little time to think here while that all installs.
We can call this kind of like the Martha Stewart baking show of code. You too can do a souffle of code with a little vodka.
We need the finished pie to pull out.
Yes, we need to finish it. Ta-da!
Yeah. Alrighty. Thinking a bit more. All right, and so now we're back into the terminal, and we can reload and verify that the installation was successful.
It's thinking. It's thinking.
Adjustment there. Do we have a typo? There we go. And so now we can see that we have enrolled in Amazon CodeWhisperer for Jupyter Lab extension, and now we can go back over to our new notebook. So we should now be ready to code. You might need to refresh your browser for that to take effect. Fantastic. And now we should be able to enter a task in English, for example. Oh.
My pandas.
This looks like it's looping a little bit. Here we go. Alrighty. So, exactly. Yep, now we can enter something in such as read this Boston.csv into my Panda data frame. So Studio will then convert that to code and execute on the command. So we can see we've now entered that in plain text. CodeWhisperer has suggested code for us. We can run that.
But what if you don't want to use it? I mean, let's say you want to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how does that work about suggestions?
That's a great question. So you would have multiple options there. So if you don't like the first one, you can suggest it, or take an alternate option, or you can ignore it altogether and execute your own code.
Nice.
I feel like that's been a theme today too, of like,
self-service.
Yeah, there's like an option between if you're an expert and you just want to operate at the expert level, or if you're, you just kind of want to take it easy, like you're having a relaxing day, or you're a novice, like there's like a whole range of options, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. it's really focused on just helping you move more quickly. And so we're running a little bit ahead in our demo here, but we can also ask it to do things like show the top 10 from a data frame. It quickly converted that code. We can also manage the extensions. So actually, if we're able to run back here
It's
just
running
a little
faster
bit.
than we are. I'm sorry. We humans are slow.
So you can see here we followed up with a demo here
Nice.
of showing the top 10 data from that same data frame. So it understands the previous input and it's referencing that same data frame without having to write boston.csv again. It understands that. And then you can also go in and manage your extensions. So if you click over to the settings and advanced settings editor, we'll go up to the top there and check it out. There we go. You can see that we can do a number of things from this page. We can manage your data sharing permissions, so what you're sharing with AWS to improve that. Enable suggestions, so you had mentioned before wanting to see more suggestions or learn a little something new.
Yeah.
And you can also adjust your log level.
Nice. Nice. So it's bringing a lot of functionality to you as the developer that you can explore with different code, but you can also kind of go back to the basics.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it really is. It spans something to fit for everyone. So if you prefer to build in Jupyter Lab in the open source environment and have complete control over your own, you can do that. If you want to use a fully managed environment like Studio that helps you get going more quickly, it's super convenient to do so, and then you get the full suite of SageMaker services.
I love
to
that.
support
So I know that we had a user before in LinkedIn who was asking, kind of how to get started with AWS and AWS services and products. And that's the one thing I love specifically. So I was fairly new. I call myself a data geek baby, coined here. And I was learning all about data. I was learning how to bring it into the ML environment. And, I found that, sometimes having that code helper, because I didn't really necessarily know what to type, so I'd go to a lot of demos and pull that. I'd go to Git, find some code. And then to me, when I tried doing SageMaker, it was a little bit more, let me walk you through some of our things to kind of get you those baby steps. And I almost feel like CodeWhisperer is kind of like that next step up.
Yeah, that's exactly
let me
right.
help you, let me give you these guardrails, but code away.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah, versus scouring the internet,
Trying
trying to find on a search engine, the right thing that applies
Code that
to your
actually works,
application.
because I love you, Git, but sometimes your code doesn't work. And then you have to kind of figure out, why is it not working? And I'm not that great at knowing code yet to know why it doesn't work. So then you have to go look for new code. But you said something about, because we're here talking mainly about Jupyter, and Jupyter being open source. Tell me a little bit about AWS and how we support Jupyter, being an open source.
Yeah, absolutely. So given the importance of Jupyter to data scientists and ML developers, AWS is an active sponsor and contributor of Project Jupyter. So our goal is to work with an open source community to help Jupyter be the best possible notebook platform for data scientists, for data science and ML. And earlier at JupyterCon, we announced 5 new extensions to the Jupyter community. So this was one of those 5, but you can learn a whole bunch more at the blog that we share in the chat.
Wow. So I want to look. So how can we keep track on the new Jupyter open source extensions from AWS?
Yeah, you can check the Jupyter on AWS webpage to learn more about our contributions, and it's updated frequently with all that we're doing with the Jupyter community.
Amazing. And is there anything we haven't touched on yet about this that you would want the audience to know?
I think we've covered just about everything. So.
Wow, that's a first on AWS on air, but we don't have to stop the individual, go, wait a minute, sorry, it's time to leave. Good to go. So before we go into too much, and I do have some more questions for you. I want to see if we have anything in Twitch. Okay. So this was not necessarily a question, but it's more of a compliment. Joe, your shirt is incredibly and on brand with the background, and we shall cue Careless Whisper sax. Now, I can't really hum the sax, and you don't really want me to hum that. I say, good job.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So I want to kind of talk about one really last quick thing. As a baby coder, how does this help democratize coding? How does this help? Other than it's going to kind of give you these little things, is it going to help me as a first-time coder? So our individual who's brand new, and I call them the baby coder, how's that going to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime that you're creating resources that make coding more accessible, right, the barrier to entry is now lower because we're providing code suggestion. We're providing an active way for you to try more things out and be right more often, right?
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is democratizing. The other thing that we're doing is by offering it through Jupyter Lab, an open source platform, there's more support for multiple IDEs. So whatever works best for you, we're supporting that.
Now, speaking of that, you were saying, and I'm trying to look back because I know you and I have had this conversation before, and it all just goes a blank. I need CodeWhisperer, quick, for my head.
Feed some code into Tabitha's noggin.
I know. So, is CodeWhisperer just for Jupyter Lab? Can we in Amazon SageMaker? Is there other places we can use it, or is it just best in that environment?
Oh, absolutely. You can use it in multiple places. So as we referenced before, yeah, there's a number of integrated development environments that are supported. So that was the VS Code, Visual Studio Code. I listed off a couple of the JetBrains IDEs, but all of them would be IntelliJ, PyCharm, CLion, Golang, WebStorm, Rider, PHP Storm, RubyMind, and DataGrip.
Wow.
Yep.
Nice. Very nice. And just for you as the audience, when you're talking barrier to entry, that tends to be something that we all feel like we either have to have training, like you have to go to some kind of coding boot camp, or you have to go to a university to learn, or get a degree in it. And I think when you look at getting rid of that barrier to entry, that's half the battle. And I'll kind of go back on my filming world. I remember back in the 90s, I bought my first Adobe After Effects. You had to have the dongle. You had to buy the extreme high Premiere keying one. And it was really kind of intimidating because you felt like you had to be this amazing film person / special effects person / almost like a data person, because in order to get it to work, there was really not a whole lot of training. There's not a whole lot of knowledge. You just basically had this dead app in front of you, and you're trying to get it to work. And I think what's interesting is when you fast forward to things today, it's really understanding those heavy lifts. And as I just hit my mic in my face, it's okay. Understanding those heavy lifts of our customers and potential customers, or even if you're not a customer. I mean, because like you said, Jupyter Lab is 100% open source. You don't have to be with AWS to use it. But it's really allowing anybody and everybody to generate code, work with AI, ML. In my case, work in film. Working in areas that you might not have been able to necessarily do because you just didn't have that entry level. And I think that's amazing because that's the one thing that this is doing, is bringing those beginners into somebody who can code like that and get it. And who knows, do their own startup. And if you have a startup, make sure you watch our AWS On Air startup show with Jillian Ford, the lovely lady. But that actually helps us innovate faster as individuals.
Yeah, it's a great point. It really does benefit both ends of the spectrum. Whether you're, a new user or still learning to code, it's going to be great for helping you to move that along and progress where otherwise you may have been stuck or been diving into textbooks or looking for resources. And if you're an experienced developer, it also just helps you to move more quickly. In addition, you mentioned, some of the barriers to entry of traditional learning and how complex data science has traditionally been. I think that's really evolving, and programs like AWS Training and Certification has really created a momentum shift there where you can get specialized learning on how to apply AWS services and get trained up to use these tools.
Do you have an example of what you would consider one of your most novice customers, as far as this person came in knowing almost nothing about code or tech or anything, and this is how quickly they ramped up?
That is a great question.
It's okay. Maybe they're doing deep
example, that's
research.
fine. I think the leading part of that question is basically just those examples do exist. Even if you can't pull one off the top of your head, that is what is out there for sure, is that level of customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a really quick question from LinkedIn. I know we're almost out of time as my crew is waving at me saying, get out of here. I get it. Ragda says, would this also include suggesting better models? And of course, the most important, better data structures. Because we all know that that's important when you're dealing with data. Does that help with that?
Also a great question. And I don't want to speak out of turn, so I don't want to
So look at our
insinuate that it
documentation.
does. That is correct.
Definitely.
Yep.
So definitely look, so we have our own documentation. How do people get started? That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. They get started by going to aws.amazon.com/CodeWhisperer.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Joe, for being here.